So far on my journeys, I have found that in Season 5, the SA-87 and the Odin are particularly powerful against these metas with the Farah and the Krieg and so on and so forth. However, what should you be pairing them up with? What is the best SMG you can be using at the moment? And how does it compare to the other SMGs that other people are using in this meta? Hello everybody, I am ShadowsRain, and in this video we are going to be breaking down the stats. We're going to be going over everything and basically comparing the OTS-9, the MAC-10 and the Fennec. Seeing lots of them at the moment. I'm not going to be including the Tech-9 in this video because it does not include a suppressor, and that is a deal breaker for me. Not worth getting the footage. Absolute garbage. So if you do enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button below and consider subscribing if you're new here. But without no further ado, let's get right into the breakdown. So, the most important stat, in my opinion, that you can have is the damage. Now, the damage on the OTS-9 is going to come in at 34, which is quite decent. The MAC-10 is going to come in at 23, and the Fennec is going to come in at 24. And then headshot damage 45 on OTS, 27 on MAC-10, and Fennec in 38. Now, in the previous episode of this series, we did mention that it's not really worth going for headshots on the MAC-10, but for the other weapons, you're going to see a benefit for going for the head. So there's something for you to bear in mind there. Now, the next thing that we're going to be moving on to is the rate of fire. This is really, really important, because obviously this combined with the damage is going to give you your time to kill. The rate of fire for the OTS-9 is going to come in at 885 rounds per minute, which is actually quite fast considering its damage. The next for the MAC-10 is going to be 1118, which is a very fast rate of fire, and then the Fennec is going to be 1085 at 1085 bullets per second, rounds per minute. So really high numbers on all of these guns, really. I know the OTS is quite technically low compared to the other two, but that is actually still a high fire rate, so yeah, really handy. Now, the range is where things start to get a little bit different. So the OTS is looking like a really good gun at the minute. Until you look at its range, max range build is going to have this at 11 meters. But I found that inconsistent 11, closer to 10 consistent. So yeah, 10 meters it's pretty pitiful, really. Next for the MAC-10 is going to be 18 meters, which, to be honest, is around what you'd expect before you start seeing your first drop off. And then for the Fennec, is going to be 22 meters. So although the Fennec does have literally double the range of the OTS, it's still not a huge range for SMGs. When you consider like this, the Bullfrog and Bison and stuff like that. So, the next one on our list is going to be the bullet velocity. The OTS is going to be firing at 583 meters per second. You know, bog standard Cold War gun. Next is going to be MAC-10, bullet velocity 670. These are with max bullet velocity builds. So, you know, decent, you know, for short range, you don't need anything more than that, to be honest. The Fennec's kind of still broken, like well over 10,000. The exact number I don't know, so it's well over 10,000 though currently. I fully expect that to be nerfed at some point. Now the next thing that we are going to be talking about in this particular series is going to be the Hipfire. Now, for me, Hipfire is a very viable way of using your SMG, especially when you're in a shotgun encounter. It basically means that you're going to be missing less bullets and you're going to be more effective and maintaining that time to kill. So, for the OTS and the MAC-10, it's exactly the same. I would consider this as tight. There are tighter SMGs out there, but this is very tight. So, yeah, tight is the official one. Now, the Fennec is going to be tight, but wider than the other two. So, this is with the full, you know, Hipfire attachments on there. So it's not quite as good as the MAC-10 and the OTS, but it is actually still quite decent. So if you do build it that way, it is a viable way to run any of these weaponry. But the Hipfire isn't worth picking one gun over the other one, including the Fennec, which is slightly wider. Now, each weapon in this series in this episode has issues. Big issues. Hello, big issue. So, the OTS is it's that 10 meter range. And it has a sharp damage drop-off. Now, I don't really cover second damage ranges and third damage ranges because things get a little bit too complicated for these simple videos. But basically, if your kill range is 10 meters, you might as well be using a shotgun. straight up. Get yourself a Dragon's Breath out, get yourself a Spaz, get yourself an Origin, get yourself an AA-12. You know, these things are going to be inside that kill range and going to apply more pressure and are more forgiving than the OTS-9. The MAC-10 has an open bolt delay of 50 milliseconds, which means when you pull that trigger, you're not actually going to be firing bullets for 50 milliseconds, which in a game where you have quick time to kills, I know that they're trying to make it longer time to kills. When you compare it to like Apex or PUBG, still really fast time to kills. That is a huge disadvantage and does heavily affect the time to kill. The Fennec has its slower movement speed. I've got to take a stock off and sacrifice both the saber barrel and suppressor in order to have decent movement speed on this weapon, which isn't ideal. So obviously mobility is not there for the Fennec. So if you're trying to chase a team which is using MAC-10s and being meta slaves, then you are going to fall behind, because obviously your AR is not going to help you keep up with that. So just something for you to bear in mind there. Now, as mentioned, we are not including the Tech-9 in this build because the Tech-9 is going to be... It doesn't have a suppressor, and that's just a big deal breaker for me. However, if you were curious, it does sit in between the OTS and the Fennec for times to kill, but lacks a suppressor, again, as we say. Now, speaking of time to kill, let's get into that now. The OTS within its 10-meter kill range is going to come in at 509 milliseconds, which is actually fair. That's really good. It's the highest out of all these weapons inside its kill range. Outside of it, though, at that 10-meter point, you are going to be looking at 719, which is slower than a lot of assault rifles. Just bear that in mind. That's slower than assault rifles up close. That is kind of unforgivable for me. As we move on to the MAC-10, that's going to come in at a solid 615, which, it is actually slightly faster than average, I'd say. But then you got the Fennec, which is going to come in at 555 milliseconds, but of course is a lot less forgiving and is a lot slower. So though you do have, you do have that extra time to kill on the Fennec, but you are compromising with your movement speed and how quickly you burn through your ammo. So just something for you to bear in mind there. Now, for me, for the OTS, you might as well be using a shotgun in that range. The Fennec does need no stock attachments to be competitive with movement speed, and the MAC-10, it does have an open bolt delay, which is a bit of a problem. However, you get an absolutely ridiculous mag on there. So yeah, that's just kind of going to break it down for this particular video. However, guys, I do have some more interesting videos regarding SMGs that are going to be coming out soon, because when researching everything for this video, I have come across a few discoveries, and one of them, now you're going to hear it here first, is that the MAC-10 is alarmingly similar to the P90. And we are going to be looking into that and why you should be picking one over the other in the next video of the HDIF series, which is what these are. So guys, if you do enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button below and consider subscribing if you're new here. We do these kind of videos quite regular, gameplay videos, streams, and podcasts when everyone's not ill. And yeah, we're quite good crack around here. So guys, I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you in the next Shadows Reign A1A YouTube video. Peace!